This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, hello, ho there. It's Jeff Carter David. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe Birthday Boy. And the birthday boy for today, March the 11th, is a French international icon. Actually, no, he's part French, but he's from the Ivory Coast, a country you don't really think would be good at soccer, but they are. This man is known for his career at Chelsea, putting up the fourth highest goal scoring thing of all time. Although in 2012 he was actually named Chelsea's greatest ever player, which is a sin to most players from the 90s and all that. But anyhow, he's one of the greatest African players of all time. He was named African Football of the Year twice, and he's a Premier League icon. He is Didier Drogba, who's now 45 years old. Anyway, Didier Drogba was born in the Ivory Coast, and at age 5, his parents sent him to live with his uncle in France. But Drogba would soon become homesick and went back to Ivory Coast for 3 years. He would play football every day in a car park, but with his parents losing their jobs, he was sent back to France. Fortunately, though, his parents would go to France by 93 and living in the Paris suburbs. He would join a youth side and would give some help and all that. So anyway, when Drogba finished school, he went to Le Mans to study to be an accountant, being at Le Mans, the League 2 squad. Unfortunately, he tried to cope with a training schedule but failed, and he had injuries and all that. So anyway, he did sign a professional contract at age 21 with Le Mans, and he and his wife had a child. And he said that the birth was a turning point in my life. It straightened me out. So, injury would ruin him. But thankfully, though, League One squad, or the French league, the major French league, Guingamp, Guingamp, got the transfer offer. And with Guingamp, he got 3 goals with them in 11 games. It did help him avoid relegation. The coaching staff says, we don't think so. They were still unconvinced. However, he put up 17 goals the next season and helped Guingamp get their best French league finish of all time, 7th. He knew that he had some great starting and all that. Larger clubs would take interest, and Marseille decided to take a chance on him for 3.3 million British pounds. Drogba knew what he could do and all that. He scored 5 goals in UEFA Champions League and 6 in the UEFA Cup, or what it's now called Europa League. So he did what he could for Marseille. He only played 1 season for them before Chelsea signed him for 24 million British pounds. In fact, his shirt, Marseille, is framed in the Basilica of Marseille, which he presented to that church before the 2004 UEFA Cup final. Anyway, so he signed with Chelsea July 2004 and scored his first Chelsea goal in his 3rd game against Crystal Palace. Unfortunately, he pulled a massive stomach muscle, which kept him out of action for 2 months. But fortunately for him, he helped Chelsea win the 2005 Premier League, which meant their first top-flight championship since 1955. And they won the League Cup. Drogba would score in extra time for Chelsea to beat Liverpool for the FA Cup. No, sorry. FA Cup. That's for the League Cup, wasn't it? Yeah, for the League Cup. Sorry. Why am I thinking FA Cup? Anyway, he helped Chelsea get to the semis of the Champions League. If memory serves me right, I think it was Liverpool who took him out. Yeah, because the 2 Milan squads bumped into each other in that semifinal. He scored what was called disappointing, 16 goals in 40 games. But Drogba helped out and all that, and got Chelsea their second straight Premier League title, making them the second club, other than the powerful Manchester United, to do so, go back to back. And Drogba scored a key goal for them. Like, he scored 16 goals. Drogba switched from number 15 to number 11 after Damien Duff went to Newcastle. He would score 33 goals in all competitions, including 20 in the Premier League, to win the scoring title, becoming the. But across all competitions, he became the first Chelsea player since Kerry Dixon in 1985 to do so, to get 30 goals. His totals would be 20 in the Premier League, 6 in the Champions League, 3 in the FA Cup run, and 4 in the League Cup. Anyway, he would score key goals for Chelsea to beat Arsenal in the League Cup final, and it looked pretty good and all that. And in fact, in his last competitive game, he scored the winning goal against Man U in extra time, as Chelsea won the FA Cup, winning the league double. So anyway, he was named African Player of the Year for the first time in March of 2007, taking care of Samuel Eto'o and Michael Essien in the voting. He ended up finishing second in the Premier League Player of the Year awards to Cristiano Ronaldo. But anyway, Drogba had problems in 2008 by the fact that Jose Mourinho left Chelsea, all that, and he wasn't sure what he could do. He wanted to leave, but then he decided to become committed towards Chelsea, and it worked out quite well. He was named fourth. It was fourth place in the World Player of the Year voting. Anyway, unfortunately, he had some knee problems and all that. They lost the League Cup final to Tottenham, but he did score a goal. Drogba and Man U defender Nima Vidic had a battle in the box and all that. But a yellow card was worth it. Unfortunately, Drogba had issues. In the Champions League final against Man U, the first all-English Champions League final, or European Cup final, if you will, he got sent off in the 117th minute for violent conduct after slapping Vidic. Chelsea would lose on penalties, and Drogba was supposed to take the fifth kick in the shootout, which probably would have won the game for Chelsea because they had the kick to win, but John Terry took a terrible swan dive when he tried to kick the ball, and it went over the net. Injuries would plague Drogba for 2009. He was given a 6-game European ban for yelling into a live TV camera when Chelsea lost to Barcelona in the semifinals. It's an effing disgrace. But he still stayed on for Chelsea in 2010 and helped them win the 2010 Premier League. They won the FA Cup, as Drogba scored the only goal of that game against Portsmouth. So Drogba did what he could, all that. And, he did what he could. Drogba became the first player in history to score in 4 different FA Cup finals, helping Chelsea beat Liverpool in the 2012 thing. They had a chance to go for the double and win the Champions League, as well as the FA Cup. Drogba scored a massive equalizer against Bayern Munich, which got the game to penalties, and scored the winning penalty and all that. Drogba did what he did and all that, and Chelsea fans gave him the greatest player ever thing. But days later, he would leave the club when his contract expired in in June 2012. So he would head to China to play for Shanghai Shenhua with Nicholas Anelka. But by January 2013, he signed a deal with Galatasaray in Turkey. You know, he did have a temporary license to play for Galatasaray. So yeah, so Galatasaray won the Turkish league and helped them win the Super Cup. But July 2014 was a different story. He decided to play to Chelsea on a free transfer and signed a one-year deal. It was amazing. Chelsea would throw that. He would wear number 15. Mo Salah, surprisingly, who played for, I didn't know if Mo Salah played for Chelsea, but anyway, he did. So he took over the number 17 shirt. But yeah, However, Drogba was given the number 11 shirt after Oscar decided to change it to number 8. So yeah, so Drogba wore number 11 and made his Premier League debut, return for Chelsea against Burnley. He did what he could for Chelsea. Yeah, he announced that after Chelsea played Sunderland to end the 2015 Premier League, that would be the last game as player. He was starting the game as captain, but he was injured. He put up 104 goals, which was the most for an African in Premier League history before Mo Salah broke that mark in 2021. Shockingly enough, Drogba would actually come to MLS. And more shockingly for Canadian soccer fans like myself, he actually signed a deal with the Montreal Impact. It was like, what? Dude, Drogba's coming to play for a Canadian squad? Nice. He came out as a substitute against Philadelphia August 2015. And he actually scored a hat trick in his first MLS start. He scored 7 goals in the first 5 games in the league. Anyway, it was huge. What Drogba did. It gave Drogba scored a key goal against Toronto to get Montreal to the Eastern Conference semifinals, but Columbus would beat them. There were rumors circulating that Drogba would go back to Chelsea and all that. But thankfully for the Impact, Drogba said he would stay for the 2016 season. So anyway, he scored 10 goals in 22 games for Montreal. They got to the conference final in 2016, but shockingly lost to Toronto in that famous second leg. Anyway, he was a free agent, so he went over to the United Soccer League, which is basically the little sister of MLS, and played for Phoenix Rising FC. And he became a minority owner, which made him a player owner. So anyway, they did lose to Louisville in the USL Championship in 2018, even though that Drogba was 40 years old. Drogba would retire. I hoped Phoenix would get to MLS, which they haven't. Internationally, he played for Ivory Coast and all that. Getting the Ivory Coast to the Africa Cup of Nations final against Cameroon. No, sorry. They lost the final to Egypt on penalty kicks. So Egypt won the Cup of Nations. Ivory Coast in 2006 were drawn into the group of death of Serbia, Holland, and Argentina. But they lost the first 2 games before shocking Serbia in the final group game to win 3-2. He did help the Ivory Coast qualify for the 2010 World Cup, but he had a broken arm in a friendly match against Japan. But he did score against Brazil in the World Cup, even though that they were eliminated. He did play for Ivory Coast once at the 2014 World Cup, but did nothing. So Drogba, one of the best ever. He's married to a Malawian woman he met in Paris, and they have 3 children. Isaac is his eldest son. All that. So yeah, but Drogba did say that he divorced his woman by 20 years amicably. He's known for his philanthropy, being the patronage of Monaco, and doing all that. But yeah, with Le Mans, Guingamp, Marseille, Chelsea, Shanghai, Galatasaray, Mar11, and Phoenix Rising, he scored 297 goals in 679 appearances. Internationally, he would score 65 times for the Ivory Coast, winning 4 Premier League titles: 05, 06, 10, and 15. 4 FA Cups: 07, 09, 10, 12. Football, the League Cup: 05, 07, 15. And the Champions League 2012, where he really is made a sainthood by Chelsea fans. Helped Galatasaray win the Super League in the Turkish Cup. Could have helped Montreal out, but that's not there. But anyway, he does hold a lot of Chelsea records. Most goals by a non-English player, 164. Most goals scored in the cup finals, in any cup final, 9. Most goals scored in European competition, 36. The first player to score a Champions League hat trick ever, and the oldest player to score in the Champions League, 36 years, 8 months. Otherwise, he's been known for having the most assists in the Premier League by an African player, 54. The only player to score in 3 League Cup finals. The only player to score in 4 FA Cup finals. Most goals scored at the new Wembley, 8. Most goals in the Champions League by an African player, 44. And most goals scored for an English team in the Champions League, 36 with Chelsea. So, yeah, he was amazing. Wish he was better with Montreal, but, I'm a Toronto guy, so what do you expect? Anyway, I'm Joe Diamond. I'll do.